But that's neither here nor there. Now it has come out that yes, Teresa Weatherspoon was canned, was shown the door over a prioritization of Angel Reese and the double-double streak, and there was a major culture problem, and I think we all witnessed that firsthand. You know, Kennedy Carter on Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese on Caitlin Clark, right? Diamond the Shields on Caitlin Clark, and I don't know if maybe the commissioner got involved behind the scenes.
Looking back at this stretch of the WNBA season, there was a lot happening at once, and the Chicago Sky were right in the middle of it. The matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Sky was one of the most talked about games on the schedule at that point, and ticket prices were absolutely out of control, with seats going for around $2,800 just to get through the door. But before the ball even tipped off, it was Teresa Weatherspoon who grabbed all the attention, and not in a good way. During a press conference leading up to that game, a reporter straight up asked Weatherspoon how the coaching staff was going to look at things and decide whether adjustments needed to happen. She shut it down immediately.
On Caitlin Clark, and I don't know if maybe the commissioner got involved behind the scenes. We don't know exactly. But I do know two things. Marina Mabrey, and for whatever feelings you may have about her, I said when they got rid of her, the fact that she came out and made it very clear there was an issue in Chicago and that winning was not the most important thing, I was like, ruh-roh, you got a problem, because she's a knockdown three-point artist who could work the perimeter. There was nothing wrong with Angel Reese getting rebounds.
Did not answer, did not elaborate, just walked away from the podium like the question never got asked. That clip spread fast, and people were not kind about it in the replies. The frustration made sense too, because by that point the Sky had dropped around 5 straight and nobody could pretend things were going well. The team was tanking, and the main reason people kept pointing to was exactly what had been talked about for weeks already, which was Angel Reese chasing double-doubles at the expense of everything else. Every time she kept forcing shots and grabbing her own misses, it looked like the scoreboard was getting worse and worse for Chicago.
Three-point artist who could work the perimeter. There was nothing wrong with Angel Reese getting rebounds. There was something wrong with Angel Reese not passing the ball out to Kennedy Carter and Marina Mabrey on the perimeter. There was something very wrong with the fact that it was evident. It was obvious Kamilla Cardoso was being sidelined for Angel Reese's streak. And it seems maybe ownership caught on to that. I don't know if you guys realize, Mabrey averaged 15 points a game after she left.
Weatherspoon refusing to even acknowledge the elephant in the room just made the whole situation look worse than it already was. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, the Connecticut Sun had just finished playing the Indiana Fever, and the Sun's head coach gave a press conference afterward that made it very clear nobody was sleeping on this Fever squad anymore. She gave a straightforward breakdown of what went wrong and what the Fever were doing that made them so difficult to deal with. The pace Indiana brought was relentless, and it kept the Sun on their heels the entire game. Clark and her teammates were knocking down big shots when it mattered, winning the small stuff, and stepping up in moments when lesser teams would have folded.
I don't know if you guys realize, Mabrey averaged 15 points a game after she left the Chicago Sky, and it was clear then their playoff chances just went down the tubes when they had to get rid of her, and she wanted out. So the Chicago Sky shocked the WNBA world nearly 3 weeks ago when they fired first-year head coach Teresa Weatherspoon after a 13-27 season that included a 3-13 record after the Olympic break to close out the year. The decision was met with some resistance.
The coach admitted that the first quarter was a mess defensively, that her players were playing like 5 separate people instead of one unit, and that it was not until later in the game that Connecticut actually started playing together and connected as a group. She pointed out that once they locked in, the defense tightened up and they managed to hold Indiana down in the final stretch after giving up a huge number in the opening quarter. She also singled out one of her own players for putting in serious work on both ends of the floor, handling a tough defensive assignment while still being aggressive going the other direction. None of it was enough to get the win though, and the coach made it clear that at this point in the season, every single game carried real weight and there was no room to coast anymore.
Record after the Olympic break to close out the year. The decision was met with some resistance from star rookie Angel Reese, I'm sure. I'm sure her cash cow may have just walked out the door, who posted a lengthy thank you to Weatherspoon on her X account, in which she credited the former 5-time WNBA All-Star for playing a key role in her career. I'm sure she did. She's probably somewhere concerned right now. Next season may look a lot different for Angel Reese. But the affinity for Weatherspoon had for Reese may...
The bigger story that was developing around the Fever at that time was just how completely different of a team they had become compared to the squad that started the year in total shambles. Early on, Indiana looked like they might not win another game all season. The record was ugly, like 2 wins and 7 or 8 losses, and most people had already written them off. But something shifted, and by the time this stretch of the schedule rolled around, they were one of the hottest teams in the entire league.
Angel Reese. But the affinity for Weatherspoon had for Reese may have led to her own demise. According to Annie Costabile of the Chicago Sun-Times, she recently reported that Weatherspoon tailoring Sky's game plans around 1 or 2 players led to some serious dysfunction inside the locker room. Angel Reese killed the culture. That's what we're talking about here. Weatherspoon's inability to keep the team schematically prepared was evidenced by her...
Analysts were breaking down exactly what had changed, and the answer kept coming back to how much Caitlin Clark herself had grown as a player in real time. People had gotten used to watching her drain threes from deep, and that part of her game was obviously still there. But what started turning heads was everything else. The way she was running the floor, setting teammates up, reading the defense before it could set up, and finishing at the rim, even when bodies were flying around and contact was happening.
Weatherspoon's inability to keep the team schematically prepared was evidenced by her rotations and poor late-game play calls. Her failure to maximize rookie Kamilla Cardoso, the number 3 overall pick on offense, also came into question. Wow. According to league sources, Weatherspoon had lost the locker room, Mabrey, because of a culture that catered to the needs of a few players. Weatherspoon...
That evolution from a shooter into a complete point guard was what really had other teams worried. It was not the threes anymore, those were expected, it was everything around them. With the remaining schedule laid out at that point, the Fever had a pretty favorable stretch coming up, mostly home games with a couple of road trips mixed in.
Catered to the needs of a few players. Weatherspoon took plenty of heat down the stretch for running a game plan that seemed to benefit Reese more than anyone else. Yikes. The numbers seem to support that belief as well, as Reese averaged 13.8 points and 16 rebounds per game after the Olympic break compared to 13.5 and 11.9 before. So she prioritized the streak and torpedoed the whole team. Look, they were...
Analysts were looking at the matchups and saying it would genuinely be shocking if Indiana did not make the playoffs. The conversation had already moved past whether they would get in and shifted to how far they could actually go once they were there. If the bracket lined up right and they caught a favorable first-round opponent, there was a real case to be made that they could pull off a series win. Against some of the tougher teams in the league, it would be a much harder ask, but nobody was ruling anything out anymore.
In regards to the Indiana Fever and the Dallas Wings. Now, if you guys know and been paying attention, the Chicago Sky has lost like the last 5 games, bro. They ain't been looking too hot. Let me just say that. It's clear as day that Angel Reese is stat piling, and she's just breaking records, but it's looking like her stat piling and getting these double-doubles is actually costing her team the ball game. Now, let's check out what Teresa Witherspoon is currently going viral for. Roll the footage.
The Wings.
The idea that this team could reach the semifinals, which in the WNBA means winning your first-round series, would have sounded completely absurd back when they were sitting at 2-8. At this point in the season, though, it was not a stretch at all. The turnaround had been that dramatic, and everyone watching could see it happening right in front of them. Looking back at the whole Chicago Sky collapse, the picture became a lot clearer once the dust settled and people started connecting the dots.
The Wings, how are you going to use this as a measuring stick to assess whether or not maybe some changes need to happen?
Just like that, that interview was over, bruh. Teresa Witherspoon ain't got nothing to say to nobody. And they lighten her up in the comment section. Pull up the comments right now. This commenter stated, if the Sky keep letting Reese chuck up shots to break records and not...
Teresa Witherspoon did not get let go because the team simply lost too many games. That was the surface level explanation, but the real story underneath was way more damaging than a bad record. The double-double streak was the thing that cracked this whole situation wide open. Angel Reese chased that record all season long and basically ran the entire operation around keeping it alive.
This commenter stated, if the Sky keep letting Reese chuck up shots to break records and not run the offense through Kennedy and Kamilla, they will lose. In fact, they may not win another game. And Atlanta makes the playoffs. Teaspoon need to be coached and not worry about records. Exactly. It's clear as day Angel Reese is stockpiling, and she's costing her team these ball games. This comment stated, I'm failing to understand what was wrong with the question asked. If she isn't watching the games and thinking adjustments need to happen, then what is she?
The mainstream sports outlets had been hyping it up since day one, pushing the idea that Reese and Caitlin Clark were neck and neck for Rookie of the Year honors. That narrative was already cooked before the season even kicked off, but it kept getting recycled anyway, and Reese kept the storyline going by piling up rebounds no matter what it cost the team around her. The numbers told the story pretty clearly once somebody bothered to actually look at them. After the Olympic break, Reese was putting up 13.8 points and 16 rebounds a game.
This needs to happen, then what is she watching? And that is a good question because we know they done lost like their last 5 games, bro. This commenter stated she does this all the time. She's an immature, entitled little child who can't coach. Damn. It's definitely trouble in paradise. And me personally, they did beat the Fever last time they played them. But the way Caitlin Clark and his team is playing right now, they finna go to Chicago and put the beats of a lot.
Before that stretch, those numbers sat at 13.5 and 11.9. The rebound spike was not organic growth, it was a direct result of Witherspoon reshaping everything on the court to feed her. Rotations were built around it. Game plans revolved around it.
Lifetime on the Sky. Watch what I tell you. The game come on tonight, and you do not want to miss it. Moving on to another story. The new audio has been exposed of the Connecticut Sun coach speaking about Caitlin Clark and the team after their matchup this past week. And I'm telling you right now, she let it be known this is not the same team they played at the beginning of the season. Roll the footage.
That we didn't come away with a win. Certainly give a ton of credit to Indiana and the way that
free throw situations got manipulated for it. Whenever an opponent picked up a technical foul and the Sky got to choose who stepped up to the line, Witherspoon would send Reese, despite her being only the 4th best shooter from the stripe on the roster. That was not strategy, that was chasing a stat line. Kamilla Cardoso ended up being the biggest casualty of the whole arrangement.
That we didn't come away with a win. Certainly give a ton of credit to Indiana and the way that they played. I mean, their pace makes it difficult. They put a lot of pressure on you. They knocked down big shots. Won a lot of the hustle plays, and stepped up when they needed to. We are consistently, I think, on that quest to put 40 minutes together. We weren't able to do it tonight, and this time of the year, everybody's playing for something. Everybody's back is against the wall, and you got to bring it for 40 minutes.
Questions?
She was the number 3 overall pick in the draft and should have been a focal point of the offense. A rookie center with that kind of pedigree deserved serious floor time, especially once players like Kennedy Carter started missing time due to injury. Instead, Cardoso saw barely any uptick in her minutes. After the Olympic break, just about 1/5 of a minute more per game across her 14 appearances during that stretch. That is almost nothing, and it happened even while the...
Questions? Go ahead, Emily. Thank you.
Steph, 33 points in that first quarter, and then you hold them to 15 in the fourth. What did you feel like was the biggest shift defensively from that first half to the second?
Our sense of urgency. I mean, really, for 3 quarters, we were pretty good defensively, but I don't feel like we came out ready to go. I think we came out. We had an okay start, but you got to.
Anybody watching closely could see she was being pushed to the side so the streak could keep rolling. Marina Mabrey wanting to get out of Chicago was one of the earliest signs that things had already gone sideways behind closed doors. She is a knockdown three-point shooter who thrives working the perimeter. When she left and joined Connecticut, she started averaging 15 points a game almost right away.
Like we came out ready to go. I think we came out, we had an okay start, but you got to know that this is a team that's going to make runs. They shoot the ball incredibly well. They have great balance. They figured out, how to play together. And you're not going to hold a good offensive team down. And they're a good offensive team. Our attention to detail wasn't great in the first quarter. We were coming from behind. We were reacting instead of dictating. We were getting lost. I felt like the first quarter we were 5 players out there playing individually defensively, and the rest of the game we were a more connected unit.
The drop in the Sky's playoff chances after she departed was immediate and obvious. She was not quiet about the situation either. During her exit interview, she made it pretty clear that the culture inside that locker room was broken, and that winning was not being treated as the top priority by everyone involved. Witherspoon reportedly lost the room entirely because of how the whole thing was structured. According to reporting out of Chicago, she had been tailoring the game plan specifically around 1 or 2 players for months, and the rest of the squad felt it.